you've got to have an amazing attitude. Because, look, your attitude will determine your activities. So if you've got a lousy attitude, guess what you do? You make no phone calls. If you've got a lousy attitude, what do? You actually say, let's not pick up the phone today. Let's not advertise today. Let's not actually prospect today. Let's not close sales today. And when you have that lousy attitude, you'll get very bad activity. But if you have a great attitude, guess what happens? You do great activity. Enormous amounts. Then what happens, once you've got the activity going, you get results. And when you get results, you build your business. So it's a very simple formula. Everybody wants the results without understanding results come from activity. Activity comes from attitude.
Spending money in a recession or in tough times, there's going to be a question mark because the customer mightn't have money to give you back and buy your product or service.
Look, clearly, and I'm not going to insult anyone's intelligence here. The market may shrink, but here's what I'm thinking. If your competitors have got this below-the-line victim mentality, which they probably have, because they're all talking to their customers and they're all going, gee, it's bad at the moment, isn't it terrible? Poor old me, we're about to go broke. Now, if you took you went away from the herd, you actually said, no, we're not going to do that. Just imagine what would happen. You would pick up their share. Because what they're doing is they're cutting back. You're actually saying, we know that the pie is smaller, but we can move from 10% market share to 20% market share. Not because we're doing anything better, it's because they're doing nothing at all. And I learnt this from Gerry Harvey. You know, Gerry Harvey was a master of this. If you even notice just Harvey Norman now, right now, just the last week, the amazing, insane amount of advertising they're currently doing. They're putting this philosophy into action. And I've seen this work. It is brilliant. But the other thing that's really great, you don't have to spend your own money. Because, see, a lot of organisations want to partner with organisations who have got a good attitude. Because they're in the same situation. So they're actually saying, if you've got a great plan, we'll give you money to advertise that. So right now, I would be ramping up my sales and marketing. I would not be necessarily spending my own money. I would be going back to my suppliers. I would be saying, hey, we have a great business opportunity for you. And because they need you to fire, because if you don't fire, they don't sell the stock. And everyone else is doing nothing and you're doing something, you're going to get everyone else's money too.
And at the end of the recession, or whatever we want to call it, you'll have a whole lot of new customers you mightn't have had before.
Extraordinary. And that's the great thing, and this is what I've just known. Seasons come to an end.
And by having gone out there aggressively, you've picked up people that might never have been to you before.
Absolutely. And what I'd suggest also to the listeners is that there are basically 5 ways to build a business. The first way is to generate leads. The second way is to convert the leads that you've got. The third way is to increase the average dollar sale of those customers. The fourth way is to increase the frequency of transaction. And the fifth way is to improve margin. Right now, I'm figuring that I would want to introduce low-cost ways to build my business. The 2 that I would be nailing right now are the lowest cost ones. Number 1, fix up and improve your conversion rate. Don't go out there and spend a lot more money trying to find new customers. Get really good at turning a prospect into a customer. Now, that's really simple to do because you've already got the people who are supposed to be salespeople, but they're probably order takers, and they've lived a blessed life for about 5 years because the market's been so hot, they've been able to get orders by default. Challenge them to rise to the occasion. The other area is that once you've got a customer, get a larger sale from them. Learn how to upsell, learn how to cross-sell, learn how to add value. Because those two strategies are so incredibly low cost. Because effectively we're already paying for those people to do those functions. And all it really is probably some training, some coaching, some role playing, and really challenging them to earn their wage based on performance, not just turning up.
So what you're really saying, to sum this up, is that you can prosper in tough times.
I reckon it's a great opportunity. Like, I'm pretty optimistic at the best of times, right? And I'm not an idiot either, right? You've got to have a great attitude as you work your way out of circumstances. Because this is what happens. Everybody wants to have a great attitude when they have the great circumstance, right? I'm figuring you've got to have the great attitude, and that will actually create the great results. Now, I'll give you an example of this. It's a story. It's a wonderful story. I'll read it to you. It's called The Story of the Hot Dog Man.
Yes.
A man lived by the side of the road, and he sold hot dogs, Michael. And he was really hard of hearing, so he had no radio. He had trouble with his eyes, so he read no newspapers. But he sold really great hot dogs. He put signs on the highway advertising them. He stood on the side of the road and cried, "Buy a hot dog, mister," and people bought his hot dogs. He increased his meat and bun orders. He brought a bigger stove to take care of his trade. He finally got his son to come home from university to help him out. But then something happened. "Father," the son said, "haven't you been listening to the radio?" His son said, "Haven't you been reading the newspaper? There is a world recession on, and war has erupted in the Middle East, and people are losing their jobs." Whereupon the father thought, well, my son's been to university. He reads papers and listens to radio, so he ought to know. So the father cut down his meat and bun orders, took down his signs, and no longer bothered to stand out on the highway to sell his hot dogs. His sales fell overnight. In conclusion, the father went to the son and said, "You're right, son. We are certainly in the middle of a big recession." I hope we get it. I hope we get it, guys. Because ultimately the story, more than anything else, is never, never stop selling and marketing.